Oh, hi. First chapter of microeconomics, the five foundations of economics. So in this chapter, we have several big questions. And by the way, each chapter you're gonna have these different several questions that we need to answer. So when you look at all these questions, keep in mind at the end of the chapter, once you're done with each chapter, try to come back and answer these questions without looking at the material that you just learned. All right, so in this chapter, we are going to define the term economics, and then after we understand a little bit of the definition of economics, then we are going to look at the five foundations of economics that are very important for the next chapters to come. So those are two big ideas that we are going to do in this chapter. All right. So here's a question for you. When you hear the term economics, what words that really come to your mind? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. When you hear the term economics, well, some of you might say money, some of you might say resources, some of you might say, so many needs, but not enough resources to serve the needs. But all in all, actually, the term that should be really come to your mind, that should be coming to your mind, is another word start with the S, and we're going to see that in the next slide. So again, let's skip that answer for a moment and just want to give you a little bit of the idea of the purpose of this course is going to try to achieve. So first of all, we are going to learn tools that we use in economics, right? And I'm going to provide you with all these tools in economics to discover how the world works. Well, you can think of science that because science is trying to explain how a lot of things in this world, worked and work together, right? But my very important purpose that I'm trying to teach all my students every year is that I want you to be an informed citizen. Some of these common sense that we kind of know, or common knowledge that we thought we knew, and when it comes to really being an informed citizen, the answer to a lot of questions might not be the same way. And I want you to be able to use economics tools to make decisions and live your life to the fullest. Well, it might not be too clear what that means, but hopefully by the end of the 15 weeks, we should be able to, see a little bit of this kind of purpose of this course. All right, and the big thing, more academic, is that we try to understand how the markets work, right? And finally, just want to make sure that you see this term very clearly, make better personal decisions. So economic class is all about making decisions, okay? But at least once you get out of this class, microeconomics, you should be able to make a better personal decision, okay? All right, that's the term that I was talking about, that when you talk about economics, the first term that should come to your mind, if not yet, from now on, you're going to think of this term, scarcity. What is scarcity? Scarcity is just the limited nature of the society's resources, right? So we only have so much of all the resources in the world, but we do have unlimited ones, right? So with all of these unlimited ones, with limited amount of resources, of course, it's going to create scarcity. So economics then means the study of how people allocate these very scarce resources to satisfy that unlimited wants that they have, okay? So like I said, economics is all about the study of how people make decisions, okay? So what can be said about scarcity? What do you think is the answer to this? Let's give you 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. Definitely, scarcity forces us to make choices. Scarcity forces us to make choices. So I want you to see it, so I put it in there twice, okay? A is the answer. All right, now we're going to take a look at the differences between these two subjects, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So microeconomics is all about individual units. So we study how individual units make decision, right? Because these individual units make up the whole economy. So we focus on individuals, mean households, consumers, things like that, businesses, and industries. And by the way, the term industries, I use that interchangeably with the term markets. So they mean the same thing. Automobile industries, the automobile industry means the same thing as automobile market. Okay. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, is a study of the overall aspects of an entire economy. So we are not talking about just agricultural sector, household behavior, government doing such things, but we're talking about what happened in the whole economy. So we focus on the big picture. Okay, what does it mean, a big picture? Basically, it means something like what is the total income of the whole economy, what is the whole economy unemployment rate, what is the general interest rates of the whole economy, and things like that. All right, next, let's take a look at these 5 foundations of economics. So I'm giving you right now those 5 foundations. Number 1, incentives matter. And this is part of your writing assignment number 1, that you need to take a look at two video clips that both of them are talking about these 5 foundations of economics. So you are going to spot which one of these 5 foundations, or maybe all of them, were talked about in those 2 video clips, and you kind of discuss about it. All right, so number 1, incentives matter. Number 2, life is all about trade-offs. Number 3, we are going to learn about opportunity cost, and this is a big thing in economics because it will continue to the next chapters as well in terms of opportunity cost. And number 4, marginal thinking. Well, the idea is we are taking action because the marginal benefit from taking that action is greater than the marginal cost of taking that action. And we're going to elaborate that a little bit what that means. And keep in mind, this principle number 4 basically is an answer to many economic problems out there. All right, and the last one, trade creates value. So basically number 5, saying something about trading among people are voluntary, so that means nobody can force you to trade, so you only want to trade where it benefits you. So at the end, trade should create value for everybody. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one, incentives. So the term incentives means factor that motivate you to act or exert effort. So the factors that motivate you to act or stop you from acting, something, right? That could be incentives as well. The very first example here is a positive incentives. If you're going to get 100%, if you come to class getting, and everything, and I can give you a little bit of this smiley face, so you will feel good about it. So you respond to this incentive, you got a smiley face, you just start the class, so you want to do well the next time too. All right. So like I said before, a moment earlier, the positive incentives versus the negative incentives. So they're both ways, right? The point is, positive incentives will encourage people to act, right? How do we do that? We offer rewards, or sometimes we offer payment. We offer benefit to people to get them to do things, right? So the negative incentives then will be the opposite. What does it mean? We want people to stop from doing things. So we discourage action by providing undesirable consequences, or in short, punishments, right? If we give the punishment, we hope the punishment is going to deter people from doing, bad things, or stop people from acting something that's not desirable by kind of forcing or providing undesirable consequence for that action. Okay, but beyond that, we can look at the incentives in 2 ways. 1, very direct. 2, indirect. Okay, what is direct incentive? Direct incentive means here is what I want you to do, and here is what I'm going to do in order to get you to do it. Here, I want you to come to class, right? I want you to do this to come to class. So here is what I'm going to do in order to get you to do it, meaning if you come to class, you have a chance to earn extra point. If you come to class, you have a chance to earn extra points. Fair enough, so that direct incentive. I want you to come and do it. Or direct incentive in a negative way would be if you missed 3 classes, then your grade will be lower by 1 letter grade. See, I want to encourage you directly to do it, to come to class or stop skipping classes, right? So that's very direct incentive. Indirect incentive is a secondary change in behavior that brought on by the original incentive. For example, speeding, right? Speeding ticket. So when you drive too fast, you get a ticket, right? So if you drove too fast, you got a ticket. The way to have some sort of indirect incentive would be something like installing the camera, the red, the traffic light camera. So the traffic light camera is to send a signal that, hey, you know, if you drove too fast, you would be taking the picture, and that will be indirectly enforce you to not driving too fast. Okay? But that's not direct, because the direct would be to get the speeding ticket and pay a fine. That would be direct incentive. But the indirect incentive would be installing those camera at the traffic light so that they will deter you from driving too fast. I hope that makes sense. All right. Generally, direct incentive easy to recognize, but the indirect incentive is more difficult to recognize. All right. So the incentive matters also link into unintended consequences, right? Sometimes when we design the incentive scheme to get people to do things or not do things, right? Sometimes there is some unplanned result, but usually negative and unwanted. Happen because of this incentive that we created. Okay, so I'm going to give you one example, and I always use this example in class. So basically, think about a daycare, right? That have daycare somewhere, right? And actually, I got this example from Freakonomics. Okay, so Freakonomics had this one chapter and talked about how people respond to incentives. So this daycare, every day they have about, let's say, 40 kids running around after the school time. Basically, let's say 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Parents are supposed to pick up their kids, right? But every single day there will be 40 kids running around. So the manager of the daycare then have to set aside some caretaker, right, to take care of all these kids. Maybe the teacher, right, to take care of the kids, more liabilities of the kids on the property, and also to pay it over time and so on. So the manager wanted the parents to pick up their kids on time, 4 o'clock sharp. Get your kids out of here, right? So they consulted with an economist, and they said, okay, we wanted to create some incentives so that we get parents to pick up their kids on time. So an economist then suggested that, you know what, you should find all these parents if they came in too late, right? So 10 minutes is the maximum, 30 minutes maybe, and if they came in late, they're going to have to pay $10 per hour. Okay, so let me tell you, the total monthly cost of putting these kids in this daycare is about $400. So $10 an hour is quite high. So basically, they set up this incentive to stop parents from coming to pick up their kid late, right? So guess what? The very first day they implemented this policy, the number of kids running around actually went up. because the unintended consequence here is that we change the moral incentive to be a financial incentive, right? So people at first might feel a little bad, but now they don't feel bad anymore. So they can pay to get their kids to leave their kids at school a little longer. So if they could afford it, so they don't feel too guilty to leave their kids there.